Hey everyone, welcome to day 3 of Math 133. So today we're going to be covering the Chapter 2 review, and we're also going to be doing the there's a Google Sheet project. So there's actually two of them. The Chapter 2 review worksheet has a table at the top, which is going to be our project that we're going to cover today, the Chapter 2 review worksheet Google Sheet project. So we're kind of doing two assignments in one. Um, and then uh, the 2.3 notes has a Google Sheet project as well. Now, the 2.3 notes you guys already did. That was last week on Thursday. We assigned the 2.3 lecture notes. The Google Sheet that goes with it, you may have already filled it out. You may have submitted it. But I want you to watch the video here because I want to make sure that you did it the right way. Okay, we're going to do it this a very similar way. So both of these Google Sheet projects are basically the same. So, Gabby, you have your hand up. What's going on? You have a question.
No, I was just saying I was here.
Oh, okay. You just had your hand up, so that's fine. Okay, so the Chapter 2 review worksheet is going to start on page 304 in your course pack. So you're going to want to grab that. It's 4 pages in your course pack. Okay. So you're going to want to have the paper in front of you, something to write with so that you can write as I am going through the questions. Okay. Um, I mean, you can, uh, just watch along with me and then fill it out later, but it's going to be way better if you are filling out the questions as we go. Okay. So it starts on page 304 and it goes up until page 307. Okay. 304 through 307. Um, as I said, the top of page 304 is this table, and this is going to be our Google Sheet project that we're going to do today. Okay. Um, so, one other thing to note is this is the start of week 2. And if you're watching this on Zoom, then you got your participation points for week 2. Good job. Okay. If you're watching this on the recording and you miss both Tuesday and Thursday this week, you're going to want to fill out the discussion board for week 2. Okay. Because in order to get your participation points, you have to either attend Zoom or you need to do the week 2 discussion board. Okay. Can you guys still hear me okay? Did I lose you? Okay, good. All right. So, yeah, I apologize. I hope I'm going to turn off my video. But let me know if I keep skipping, and we'll see if I can switch over to something else. Okay. Okay. So, what I was saying though is, when you to get your participation points, you either have to come to one of the Zoom sessions this week or fill out the week 2 discussion board. Okay. All right. And that's going to be true of all of the weeks. So, uh, if you're in Zoom this week, great. It's good to have you. But if you miss like next week, you'll have to fill out the discussion board for that week. Okay. All right. So we're not going to start on the Chapter 2 review worksheet today. We're going to start with the project. Okay. The Chapter 2 review worksheet, Google Sheet project. Okay. So if you click on that in Canvas, it'll give you a couple different links. One of the links is documentation on how to do these projects, and they're all going to be the same. Okay, they're going to be very similar. There's a second link which takes you to the project, and that's the one I'm going to want you to click on. Okay, and it's going to bring you here. Now, this has the links to all of our different data sets. So the Section 2.3 Notes Google Sheet project is this one right here. The one that we're going to do today is the Chapter 2 Review Google Sheet, and you're going to click on that. Okay, and I will drop the link in the chat as well. Okay, so you don't have to go search for it. So Let me put that here in the chat. All right, so that will bring you to the same page that I'm on now. Okay. There's also a video in here that goes over how to do these. This video is the same as the video you saw for 2.3. So all of these Google Sheet projects, like I said, they're very similar. Okay. All right. Okay, so we are here. Okay. This spreadsheet that I dropped in the chat is our Google Sheet project for today. And it's in Google Sheets. If you wanted to, you could download this into Excel. Right now, though, I'm going to do everything in Google Sheets today because you might not have Excel. Excel costs money. Um, so everyone has a Google account, hopefully. So then you'll be able to do it in Google Sheets. Now, you can't fill anything in right now because it's view only. This is the Google Sheet for everyone. This is the master sheet, okay? So you need to click on File, Make a Copy, okay? File, Make a Copy. Or if you do have Excel, you could do File, Download, and download it in Excel. But I'm going to do File, Make a Copy. And I would like your name in here if you can. You don't have to put your name in here, but it helps because I don't know why we got the dates wrong, but if you put your name in here, it'll make it easier for me to find it if I end up having to download it. Okay. Now, where you save it is up to you. So you could save it in My Drive, or if you have a folder set aside for all of your assignments for this class, you can drop it in that folder and click Make a Copy. Okay. So File, Make a Copy. Now that you've done that, we can enter whatever we need to. Okay. So this is yours to fill in whatever you need. Okay. All right. So this table shows the number of pet dogs in thousands for all the countries of Europe that participated in the reporting. Okay. Um, yeah, this is the chapter two worksheet. Yep. All right. So we're going to fill in all of these different cells here. To start with, we need the class midpoints. Okay. So this class right here is from 0 to 1,999. Now it's actually measured in thousands. So this is actually 1999,000. Okay. So it's 1,999,000. Okay. But we're not going to worry too much about that. Okay. What this means is there are 29 countries that, if I go to each country and ask how many pet dogs does this country have? And let's say Spain says they have 1 million, okay? Then they would get counted in this group, in this class, in this bucket, okay? We're going to use group, class, or bucket like all pretty interchangeably, okay? It just means this row, okay? All right. So to do the class midpoint, I'm going to do a formula. Basically, so any country that's somewhere between 0 and 1999 is going to show up in this row in this class. But to calculate like averages or standard deviations, which we're not going to do today, but we definitely will do in chapter 3, to calculate those things, I need the midpoints. Okay. Okay, so I'm still skipping pretty bad. Cindy, how do I sound for you?
Sound fine to me.
Okay.
It
Um,
was in the beginning. You were skipping a little bit, but
oh, in the
I'm
beginning?
fine.
Okay.
Yeah, you're
All right.
fine now.
All right, I'm going to press on. If if I do end up having issues, let me know. Like if you miss a sentence I say, let me know. Because I want to make sure nobody's lost or behind. So, okay. So to do the midpoints, we need a formula. Okay. So class midpoints. We're going to first find the what's called the foundational midpoint. Okay. That's the first one. Okay. To calculate the foundational midpoint, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lower limit plus the next lower limit. I'm going to add those together, put it in parentheses, and I'm going to divide by 2. What I'm doing is I'm calculating the average of these two things. Okay. So what does this mean? Lower limit plus next lower limit divided by 2. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So back over here in cell B2, if you click on cell B2 and you type equals and then open a parenthesis, the lower limit for this class is 0, right? The upper limit is 1999. The lower limit is 0, okay? Plus the next lower limit, I'm not going to do the average of 0 and 1999. That's not going to give me the midpoint. I need to do plus the midpoint, or sorry, plus the next lower limit. So the next lower limit, if I go down here, it's 2000. Okay. So this class, the lower limit is 2000. The lower limit here is 4, 6, 8,000. Okay. So it's the lower limit plus the next lower limit. Close my parenthesis, and then I divide by 2. And that's going to give me 1000. Okay. So that is what I need in cell B2. Now, I don't want you to type the number 1000 because when we're doing these projects or the worksheets or anything in the class, I'm not just grading your answer, I'm grading your understanding, okay? There's going to be times in the class where you might actually get the answer wrong, but I can see that you knew what you were doing, you filled it out like, you made like a small mistake. So maybe you get 1 point off, or I have given people full credit for an answer that was wrong because they understood what they were doing. Okay. Because I could tell, oh, they just did it this way instead. Okay. So I want you to actually type the formula. And you can see up here in the formula bar that this is not the number 1000, it's actually this calculation. Okay. If you just type 1000, I can see in the formula bar that it just says 1000. Okay. And that's not what I want. I want to see the actual formula. Okay. So it's equals, open parenthesis, 0 plus 2000, close your parenthesis, divide by 2. Okay. So what number is directly in the middle between 0 and 1999? 1000 is right in the middle. Okay. Now, we're going to do this. We're not going to do the same thing for all these other ones because I don't want to have to type that same formula 5 more times. Okay. I mean, 5 times is not a big deal. Okay. But what if I had like 10 more classes? Or what if I had 100 more? I'm not going to want to type this formula for all of them. So I'm going to use the class width to calculate the rest of them much more quickly. All right. So I first need to find the class width. Okay. So how do I find the class width? So the class width is how many numbers there are from 0 to 1999. Okay. So to do that, I'm skipping again. Oh man. Well, hopefully what I'm writing is not skipping, and you can copy down what I have here. Okay. All right. So I apologize for the lagging and the skipping. Um, so hopefully you can at least copy down what I have written on the screen. Um, so the class width is the next lower limit minus the current lower limit. Okay. Can I get a thumbs up that you can see the formula? Okay.
We can.
All right, good. I'm gonna let my writing do the talking today, at least for most of the part. Okay, so the class width, I do equals. So the next lower limit is 2000 minus the lower limit, which was 0. And so my class width is 2,000. So how many numbers are there from 0 to 1999? There are 2,000. That doesn't totally make sense, right? Because I thought there were just 1999. Well, you got to count 0. 0 is one of the numbers. So 1999 plus one number, if you got to count 0. So there's actually 2,000 numbers. Well, how does that help us? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to use that to calculate the rest of the midpoints, okay? So the way that I do that, the foundational midpoint, okay? The class midpoints, the foundational midpoint, we already did, okay? Now we're going to calculate the rest of the midpoints. And to do that, you do the previous midpoint, but you're going to click on the cell of that, okay? You're going to click on that cell plus the width, the class width, okay? So to calculate the rest of the midpoints, you click on the cell of the previous midpoint, and then you add the width. So let me show you what that looks like. So click right here in cell B3, and we're going to type equals, and then you're going to click cell B2, or you can type B2, but don't just type 1,000. You want to click B2 or type B2, and then plus 2,000. And you can just type out the numbers 2,000, okay? So the next one, the number in between 2,000 and 39.99 is 3,000, okay? Now that I've done that, if I go back to cell B3, okay? So Jordan, it looks like you did B2 plus 200. So make sure you do B2 plus 2,000, okay? So now that I've done that, I'm going to take cell B3 and I'm going to copy that formula. So Excel or Google Sheets is smart enough that when you copy something with a formula, it doesn't copy the number, it copies that formula. So what you'll do is if you click on cell B3, um, in the lower right-hand corner, a little dot shows up. And if you hover over that dot, your cursor turns into a plus. If you click with your left mouse button and drag that down, it will copy that formula for the rest of the midpoints, okay? So I only have to do these two. And then I can copy the rest, okay? Now, if you didn't want to click and drag, or if you're on like an iPhone or an iPad or something, what you can do instead is you can right click, you can copy that, and then you can select the places that you want to fill it in and right click and paste. Okay. Sometimes Google Sheets will actually give you like a suggestion, and you can accept that suggestion. In this case, they didn't give me one, but we'll see some cases where sometimes they give good suggestions, sometimes they don't. Okay. So thank you, Mary. Mary's pointing out that the Chapter 2 review worksheet has a typo here where it says from 10,000 to 19,999 versus on the Google document, the Google Sheet, it says 1199. So in this case, it doesn't matter in this case. These are the numbers I'm looking for. There are some times where you might see a situation where the last class has a much bigger width than other classes, or the first class can also have that happen. That can happen when there's major outliers. Like if there's a huge country like Russia that has, you know, billions of pets in it, then you might actually have a situation, or billions of dogs, I guess, pet dogs. You might have a situation where you have this outlier, and instead of having a whole bunch of blank, empty classes, they might make the last one much wider. Okay. So just be aware of that. In this case, though, I still want to have my final class midpoint as 11,000. Okay. Gabby, you have your hand raised again. Do you have a question this time?
Yes, I do actually.
All
I was
right.
just wondering how you did you write the class within 2000?
No, I did a formula for that one. I did I did 2000 minus 0, okay, equals 2000 minus 0. Now in this case, it didn't matter so much because 2000 minus 0 is 2000. But if this first class didn't start at 0, I might want to use the formula, which I wrote on the paper here. Class width is your next lower limit minus the current lower limit. And this is what you're going to want to do for the 2.3 Google Sheet project, because that one, this class right here doesn't start at start at 0. So in this case, you're going to want your class width, you're going to want to use this row and do 30 minus 20, okay? So just be aware of that. Okay. Let's jump back to ours. Here it is, okay? Okay, so now that we've got our midpoints, let's move on to relative frequency. Relative frequency is the frequency, and you want to click on the cell, okay, of that frequency divided by the total, okay? So just like if we were doing a probability or a relative frequency or a proportion, we're always dividing by the total, okay? So in order to do that, I'm going to need to find the total first, okay? So to find the total, I need to add up these numbers here. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll do equals, and Google Sheets in this case was smart. They suggested, are you trying to sum up the numbers from C2 down to C7? And the answer is yes, I am. So if you hit tab, it will do that formula for you. Now, if your Google Sheets or your Excel is not doing that, you'll type sum, open your parenthesis, and then you'll click the 29, because that's the first one, and drag it down to the 2. So it'll look like C2 colon C7. Close your parenthesis and hit enter. And so you get 41. There's 41 countries in Europe. Okay, now you know. Okay. I mean, it changes sometimes, right? How many countries are in Europe? So, okay. So now that we have that total, we can do our relative frequencies. So if I click on cell D2, I'll type equals, and then I need to click on the frequency, which in this case is 29. So don't type 29. I want you to click on 29, or click on this on cell C2, divide by, and then you're going to type 41. Okay. And you'll get the relative frequency, which is 0.70731, blah, 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 blah. Now, Google Sheets is giving you a suggestion to copy that formula down. It's almost right, but I don't want this 1 down here at the bottom. So good try. I'm going to reject your suggestion though, Google, because what I want to do is I want it to copy the formula down to here, and I want it to stop there. I don't want the 1 down here. Okay. So what I did was I typed equals C2 divided by 41, and then I clicked this cell, and I hovered over the little dot, left click, and drag it down. And here's all of my relative frequencies, okay? Now, if someone asked you, like, what percent of countries have between 0 and 1999 dogs, the answer is not 0.703170. When you're presenting your math or your metrics to like your boss or CEO or whatever, they don't want to see all those decimals, okay? They want to know that it's like 70% or 71% or 70.7 maybe. In some cases, you can get away with 1, maybe 2 decimals, but that's too many digits. Now, we're not going to talk about significant figures in this class, but most of the time, we only want 3 digits after the decimal. So what I'd like you to do is click on this D at the top to highlight the entire column. And up here, there's a button with a dot and a 0 and an arrow for decreasing the decimal places. There's one in Excel as well on the Home tab where you can increase or decrease. If you click on one of them and it starts getting bigger, just switch over and click on the other one. Because ultimately what I want is I want the numbers to look like this. Okay. So this is saying that 0.707 or 70.7% of countries have this many dogs, right? So Vatican City is a country in Europe. They probably have 0, right? So they're probably in this row somewhere. So when I'm on these formulas that I'm giving you, by the way, I'll indicate if you should be clicking the cell, entering a cell value, or if you just write the number. So in this case, total, I just want you to type 41. If you click on that 41, you'll get some weird errors, okay, where your numbers aren't going to match up with what I have, okay? All right. Next, we're going to do cumulative frequency. So cumulative frequency is a two-step process, okay? Cumulative frequency. The first thing you do for cumulative frequency is you're going to copy. So the first, I'm going to write, okay, hold on. First cumulative frequency. You copy the frequency in the first cell. So first cumulative frequency, copy this frequency in the first cell. Okay, so the first frequency is 29. So I'm just going to copy that here. I'll do equals and I'll click on C2. Okay, or you can just type 29. That's fine too. Google's going to say, oh, you want them all to be the same? No, I do not. Just that first one. Okay. For the rest of them,
Could you do that real
use
quick
it.
one more time?
Oh, just type 29 right here. So you can just type 29 or you can type equals C2. Cell C2 is the number 29. The rest of the cumulative frequencies you're going to click on the previous cumulative frequency. Here you click on the cell of that. So click on the cell value of the previous you. Oh my God, this is terrible. This is not a spelling class. Cumulative. Oh my God. Previous cumulative frequency plus the frequency of that row. And you're going to click on the cell of that as well. Oh my God, what the hell does this mean? Click on the previous cumulative frequency and then click on the frequency of that row, okay? Basically, I'm clicking on two cells and adding them together. This is what it's going to look like. So right here, I'm going to type equals. I'm going to click on the previous cumulative frequency, which in this case is this one, 29. That was the previous one. And Google is actually making a guess that that's what we're doing. And Google is correct in this case. So you could just hit tab, but I'm going to actually click on the things. So I'm going to click on the 29 above it. That's the previous one. And then plus, and then I'm going to click on the frequency in this row. So this is row 3 that I'm typing in my formula. So the frequency in this row is 4. So I'm going to click on that 4. So my equation is equals E2 plus C3. And when I enter that, I should get 33. Okay. Basically, what a cumulative frequency is it is adding up that frequency plus all the ones below it. Okay. So that's what's happening here is it's adding up the 4 plus all the frequencies below, which in this case is just the 29, and I get a total of 33. Now that I've done that, I can copy this formula down by hovering over the dot, dragging it down, and I get these cumulative frequencies, okay? By the way, the last one, 41, should be the total. these two numbers should match. Now, you don't need to highlight them. I'm just going to highlight them here for this particular case, just so it's clear that these numbers should always match, because what a cumulative frequency is doing is it's adding up that frequency plus all the ones below it, which the last one is the same as just adding them all together. And that's what this total is, okay? This number here should also match this number, right? Because, well, that was our first step, right? Our first step was just copy the 29 over here. So these should also always be the same, okay? So you don't need to highlight them. I'm just using that as an illustration, but all right. Lastly, we have cumulative relative frequency, okay? So cumulative, let's see if I can spell it this time. All right, good job. Way to not suck this time, Joe. Cumulative relative frequencies. There's two ways to do these. I'm going to show you one way this time, but we'll look at the other one maybe next time, okay? But for cumulative relative frequency, I'm going to do it the same way I did relative frequency, which is I use the cell value of the relative frequencies divided by the total. So I'm going to use the cell value of the relative frequencies divided by the total. That is a terrible cue. It's not much better. All right. So I'm going to do equals, and I'm going to do the relative frequency, which in this case is this one right here, cell D2. I'm going to divide by the total, which is 41. Nope, nope. I am screwing this up. I'm screwing this up. Ah, dang it. I knew I was going to screw something up.
Join the club, Joe. That's all they all know what I'm talking about.
Okay, there we go. No, it's okay. If you watch my morning recording, I screwed something different up. I didn't make the same mistake this time. Made a different mistake. Always make different. Always learn from your mistakes. Make different mistakes. Okay, let's try this again. We're going to click on the cell of the cumulative frequency and divide that by the total. That's going to be better for our lives, because if I had done this, I would have gotten a decimal, and that looks like crap. I would have caught myself because my last one would not have been 100%. Yeah, so, okay. Try again. Equals, click on the cumulative frequency, which is this one. Click on cell E2 and divide that by 41. Yeah, that looks much better. And we'll copy that formula down. So it's equals, click on the cumulative frequency, divide by the total, which is 41. And there we go. So again, I'll click on the F at the top, decrease my digits down, and we should be good. So these numbers here, by the way, these should always match. And that was another reason I could tell right away that I had screwed up, because these numbers should always match, and they didn't. And the last one should always be 100%. I'm not gonna highlight that one, but the cumulative relative frequencies, the last one should always be 1.0 or 100%, okay? So if I skipped or lagged for a second, I'll say it again. You click on the cell of the cumulative frequency, divide by the total, and you're good, okay? All right, so one last thing we need to do before we can submit this assignment, and that is we need a graph of the frequencies, okay? We're going to do a bar chart. So you're going to come back over here to column C, and you're going to highlight the frequencies. Don't highlight the total, okay? So don't just highlight the entire column. You can include the frequency label if you want, but don't include this 41, okay? So you're going to click and drag that down, and then you're going to go to Insert Chart. Insert Chart. If you're in Excel, same thing. You'll do an insert and select a bar graph. And it's going to put it right in the middle of your screen, which is not where I want it, because now I can't see any of the numbers. So you'll need to drag it down here to the bottom or drag it off to the left. Either way is fine. Okay, so it's out of the way. Like I said, don't include the 41 because if you do, you're going to get this huge insert chart. You're going to get a huge bar at the end, which is just the total bar. Okay, and that is not actually part of your data. Okay. Now, if I wanted to actually present this chart to someone, I'd want, things on the x-axis, so I have labels. I'd want to know, this is actually a histogram, so I'd want my bars right up next to each other, not like this. But for now, we're not going to do any of that. We're going to say this looks good, and we're going to submit this assignment. So we're going to go up here to the upper right. We're going to click on Share, and then change your restriction so that it's anyone with the link. All right, and then copy that link to your clipboard. And now when we come over here to Canvas, to insert the chart, I did insert and then clicked on chart. So up here, that's the other one. Insert at the top and chart. Okay, so you're going to highlight these cells from C2 down to C7, highlight these numbers, insert chart. Okay. All right. Okay, so going back over here to Canvas, I copied it. We're putting this in the Chapter 2 review worksheet Google Sheet. Don't put it in this project, okay? Make sure you don't, because that one is a different one. That one's this one about ages, okay? So I'm going to click on the Chapter 2 review worksheet Google Sheet project.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I got everything, just didn't know how you did the chart thing. And it's a lot going on in my background today.
So highlight these cells from C2 down to C7 and hit insert chart.
Okay, you said highlight the frequency.
Highlight the frequency values and then insert chart.
And then insert chart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It says setup and customize chart editor.
Don't do any of that craziness.
Okay, so
So yeah, so if I do insert chart, yeah, this whole chart editor right here, I don't need any of that. I just need this guy. Just need this image here. Okay. And put it off to the left or down to the bottom, either way. Then back over here in Canvas, we'll scroll down to the bottom where it says web URL. We'll click on that and right click and paste that that we copied, and we'll hit submit assignment. And I get confetti. I got balloons this time. Okay. All right. Now that was for our Google Sheet project. Let's now go to our worksheet, and we'll work on that on page 304. So page 304 in your course pack, put our name. And I know it's ridiculous, but if you do enter your name, that really helps me. If I need to download them, it helps me with grading. So, if you don't put your name there, it's not a huge deal, but it helps me anyway. Okay, so this table is exactly the same table that we just did. So you're going to enter these numbers here, okay? So, just copy them in. All right. So I'm not going to do all of them here because, you can do that on your own. That's super easy, right? This one's 29, this one was 41, right? I'll let you fill in the rest, okay? All right. So, just like with any of our worksheets, I'm going to go over some hints on some of these, and then I'm going to stop the recording, and then we'll go back and we will finish the rest of the worksheet. Okay. So those of you on Zoom today, we're going to do the entire worksheet together. But those of you who are watching this on the recording, I'll go over some of the ones that I think are a little more difficult, but I'll leave the easy ones for you to do on your own time. Okay. So let's skip down to Question C, what is the shape of the distribution? Skew left, symmetric, or skewed right? So that's why we got our chart here. So what do you guys think? Is this skewed left or skewed right? Mike says it's right. I agree. This big bar right here, the tail goes off to the right. And this is another reason why I don't want that huge total bar at the end, because then it's going to look more symmetric. It doesn't have to be perfectly symmetric for me to call it symmetric, but that total is not part of the data, okay? So that's going to throw me off. But yes, I agree. This one is skewed right. All right. What about number of pet dogs? Number of pet dogs in a country, is that qualitative or quantitative? We'll talk about discrete and continuous in a second. First of all, is the number of pet dogs in a country qualitative or quantitative? So if I go to France and I ask them how many dogs are in this country, they're going to give me a number. Yes. So it is quantitative. Okay. So the next question is, and that number actually makes sense to do math on, right? If I have, let's say they have 2 million dogs and Spain has 1 million dogs, I can say, oh, well, France has more. Yeah, I can actually make that comparison of more or less. I could add them. I could say how many dogs are there altogether in Spain and France combined? 3 million. That addition makes sense. Okay, so it is quantitative. Next, is it discrete or continuous? Now, the mathematical definition of discrete is that there are only certain numbers allowed. Okay, continuous can be any number you can think of, including like pi or 3.4 or decimals or things like that. Okay, so can you have 3.4 dogs? No, you cannot. Okay, so Nathan says it's discrete. So does Crystal and James. I agree. This is discrete. Now, that's the mathematical definition of discrete. For our class, we're going to simplify it a little bit and just say that if you're allowed to use decimals, we'll call that continuous. Even though technically that's not entirely true. The definition of discrete is you're only allowed to use certain values. So like if I was measuring money, how much money is in your pocket, you could say I have $5.23, which is a decimal. Technically, you can't have half of a penny, so it is discrete. But since you're using decimals for this class, we're going to call that continuous. Okay. If you want to fight me on that, if you get one wrong where you're like, well, I wrote continuous, or I wrote discrete because I was using the mathematical definition, yeah, I'll give you the points on that. Okay. If you're able to explain that. Okay. Anyway, for our class, decimals means continuous. Next, I'm going to skip some of these and we're going to go to page 305 and we'll come back and work on the rest of those in a second. The next page, this graph shows all the users for social networks worldwide for all of these different social media platforms. What type of graph is shown above? What do you think? Nice, Raya. I got frequency bar graph. Okay. Pareto. Hopefully nobody says it's a pie chart, right? So it's not a time series. In order for it to be a time series, the x-axis has to be time, and that's not what we're measuring here. The x-axis is which social network you're looking at. Okay. Um, so I got two guesses here. Any other guesses? Yes or agree or disagree? Frequency bar chart. Okay. So this is a type of bar chart. Okay, but before you circle that, what is a histogram? A histogram is a type of bar chart where the x-axis is quantitative data. And also in a histogram, the bars are right up next to each other. They're touching. You're correct, Mary. So social network is not quantitative. It is words, right? We see Facebook, YouTube. These are qualitative, okay? So it's not a histogram. What is a Pareto chart? A Pareto chart is a special type of bar chart where the bars go from the highest down to the lowest. And that's actually what I have here is the biggest one is Facebook, and that's over here on the left, and it goes all the way down to the smallest bar. So it's a type of bar chart, but it's a special type. Okay. Now, is it a frequency Pareto chart or a relative frequency Pareto chart? In this case, it's frequency because it's measuring a count. I have 3,000 people on Facebook. If it was relative, these numbers would all be decimals. So the y-axis here would be from 0 up to like 1.0. So this would be like 0.29 or something, okay? So this is a frequency Pareto chart. All right. What about question B? Explain why it is not appropriate to talk about the shape of this distribution. Well, wait, it's inappropriate. I mean, am I going to get in trouble if I talk about the shape? So it looks to me like it's skewed right. So why is it not appropriate to talk about that? And the reason is because, yeah, you're right, Rachel. It is qualitative data. The x-axis is qualitative data. Okay. Is a qualitative variable. If I had put these in alphabetical order, I guess the first one would be Facebook still, but the last one, YouTube, would be over here. And so the bars would go up and down all over the place. You can put these in whatever order you want. And actually, since it's a Pareto chart, Pareto is always going to have the biggest bar on the left, or yeah, on the left and the smallest one on the right. So every Pareto chart is always going to look skewed right. Okay. So x-axis, since the x-axis is qualitative, uh, then you can't talk about the shape. Really, you can only talk about the shape when we're talking about histograms, okay? All right, let's move on to page 306. What type of graph is this? It is a time series. Thank you, Mike. Because the x-axis is time. It could be years, could be days, could be months. In this case, it's years. So this is a time series. All right. So violent crime rate is what we're measuring. This is violent crimes per 100,000 people. Violent crime rate is an example of qualitative, quantitative discrete, or quantitative continuous. What do you guys think? I see discrete, I see continuous. Hopefully everyone agrees that it's qualitative, okay? If the year is 2025 or 2026, which I guess is not on the chart, but it's 2026 right now. If I asked what was the violent crime rate last year, you are going to give me a number, but could that number be a decimal? It could because it's a rate, right? So this is violent crimes per 100,000 people. So if you had 200 violent crimes divided by 100,000 people, that would be 0.02. So you can have a decimal. So this is continuous. Now, that is the answer for our class, okay? The mathematical definition of discrete is that there's only certain values that you can have, and a crime is a whole number. And when you divide that by 100,000, there are technically only certain values that you can have. So if you want to argue with me that it's discrete and explain why, you'd be more correct, but I'm not going to give you more points. But yeah. Okay. That's Good for that one. Let's go on to page 307. Graph here shows the number of games played by all the NBA players in the regulars 2024 to 2025 basketball season. What type of graph is shown here? What do you think? Histogram, histogram. Okay, I agree that it's a histogram. Is it a frequency histogram or a relative frequency histogram? Mary and Mike say it is a frequency histogram, and you are correct because we're measuring whole numbers here. This is how many players played that many games. We're not looking at decimals. We're not looking at relative frequencies on the x-axis, so it is frequency. Good. Now, since is a histogram, it is appropriate to talk about the shape. We're not going to get in trouble. It's not inappropriate. Okay. So is this skewed left, symmetric, or skewed right? Yep. Gabby and Mary say it's skewed left. Yeah, if here's the big one, and it looks like there's a little bit of a bump there. That's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect for it to be skewed left. I agree. It is skewed left. Thank you, guys. All right. Um, Games played is an example of qualitative, quantitative discrete, or quantitative continuous. So if I went up to LeBron and asked him, how many games did you play in the 2024-2025 season? Is he going to, could he give me a decimal? So I see a lot of discretes. So when you're looking at basketball statistics, if someone plays half of a game, so they only play for 30 minutes, um, when they like if they played, 30 minutes for every game, uh, how do they add those up over the course of the season? Uh, they actually add them up by decimals, okay? So am I gonna get mad if you at you am I gonna mark you off for this one if you circle discrete? I probably won't, because this just requires some inside basketball knowledge that when you are calculating how many games you played, uh, if you played for 1 minute, they don't say, "Oh, you played the whole game." That counts as one, right? Um, they actually add them up by time. So, uh, anyway, so it is technically continuous. That's just annoying, right? That's a terrible question to ask. Okay, the tallest bar has a value of 58 on top. That's this one right here. What does this mean in the context of the situation? Be specific and include discussion of games and players. So 58 players, right? Because that's measuring how high the bar is. The height of the bar is the number of players. So there were 58 players, and those 58 players played uh in this. So this is the number of games they played. So they played somewhere between 70 and 75. Now, if they played exactly 75, these bars are touching. So if they played exactly 75 games, would they be in this bar on the left or this bar on the right? We can't count them in both. Okay, we can only count each player one time. So this is not actually from 70 to 75. This is actually from 70 to 74.9 or 74.99, right? Just like on the dog one, this is not going from 0 to 2000. It's going from 0 to 1999. Okay. And actually, this is 1999,000. So this is actually 1,999,999. Okay. 1,999,999. Okay. So 58 players played between 70 and 74.9 games in 2024 to 2025 season. Hopefully that makes sense.
1 second, not done writing.
Oh yeah, sure, no problem. So I want to point out that today's not test day, right? So we had some people guess, like on the other one, they said like, oh, it's a bar chart, but it was actually a Pareto chart. Or said that this one was, a lot of people said this was discrete, but I'm arguing that it's actually continuous. Like I said, today's not test day, so don't be afraid to get questions wrong. Like I'm not looking through the chat and saying, oh, you got it wrong. Oh, and also like, I'm not marking anyone off. So don't ever feel, hesitant to shout at an answer, even if you're not sure about it, okay? Because you actually learn more if you get a question wrong than if you get a question right. Okay. Because if you get a question right, you're like, oh, good for me. Okay. But if you get a question wrong, you're like, wait, how did I get that wrong? And then, we can explain it and you can learn. And that way you don't make that same mistake again. Okay. Um, and that way on when it is test day, you'll get those questions right. So, you guys are here to learn. Never feel bad about getting a question wrong during the class. Okay. That's all I have for the recording. I'm going to stop the recording. We're going to go back through and fill in the questions that we missed. Okay. So